Hi, we are Group 5 and we are doing the Nike marketing campaign. We are Eric Stubble, Blaze Ludba, Brandon Gentili, Eric Robinson, Ian Wilson, and Anaya Batra. For the executive summary for Nike, it has been one of the top sporting brands for a long time due to the branding and the quality of their product. Recently, however, they have come under a lot of public outcry due to their practices. Political tensions between the countries has definitely put a strain on Nike, and their competitors have been catching up with the branding and the quality of the product. We think the best options for Nike are to either support more activists, lead social campaigns, or improve their eco-friendliness and work environment. Our final recommendation is to support activists that agree with the core values of Nike to help them make the world a better place for all. A little bit about Nike. They're a multinational corporation. The headquarters is in Beaverton, Oregon. They have apparel, footwear, accessories, and sporting equipment. They have many different brands, such as Nike Plus, Nike Pro, Air Jordan, Converse, and many others. They were formerly known as Blue Ribbon Sports in 1964 to 1971, and their famous slogan is "Just Do It."
The issue diagnosis and framing of the task can be quite challenging. The main objective is to look for flaws in the marketing strategies and focus on a solution. Nike in 2017 prevented labor rights experts from overlooking their operations to ensure employees were working in adequate conditions. From this, Nike saw a drop in popularity with consumers as they were skeptical of Nike's manufacturing process. So after some research, it was decided that Nike needs to show consumers they are practicing good social responsibility. Questions such as how products are made and what environmental impact their manufacturing process has, what social issues Nike are investing in, such as women's sports or racial injustice, who are they endorsing to represent their brand, so athletes such as Serena Williams or Colin Kaepernick. Companies are also who are transparent with consumers seeing increase in sales. There's a strong positive correlation between the two. Endorsing athletes who are affected by the current social issues creates exposure and benefits both Nike and the athletes.
Nike's mission is to do everything possible to expand human potential. They stick to this mission by providing a platform to create groundbreaking sport innovations, making their apparel more sustainable, and by having a creative and diverse global team that helps making a positive impact in the communities around them. Their corporate vision focuses on strengthening their brand and development. They will do this by bringing inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. If you have a body, you're an athlete. Nike's current strategy includes targeting individuals between ages 15 and 45 years old. Their products include quality sports apparel and footwear. They also have a Nike Plus running app in partnership with Apple that provides its users with information regarding their workouts. They execute this current strategy by having brand partnerships with world-famous athletes who help them promote Nike's mission and products.
Nike's placement includes selling their products at retail stores, their e-commerce website, as well as in their outlet stores, which are owned by the company itself. Most of their revenue comes from their retail stores, as they are everywhere in the world and are most accessible to Nike's customers. Its product includes sports apparel, equipment, footwear, and accessories. Their branded products can be divided into 6 main categories, including running, Nike, basketball, the Jordan brand, football, training, and sportswear. Nike's 2 main pricing strategies for its products include the value-based pricing and the premium pricing. In terms of using value-based pricing, where the price of the product is set according to what the consumer is willing to pay for the product. Nike uses this strategy to determine the maximum price for the consumers that are willing to pay for its footwear, apparel, and equipment. They use their premium pricing strategy with the high-quality premium products, which shows Nike's products at a higher quality than its competitors. To promote their products, Nike advertises them using high-profile celebrities and athletes to attract the customers to these premium products. Nike's promotional mix also includes how they communicate with their consumers using advertising, sales promotion, and direct marketing. In terms of their performance evaluation, Nike hopes to have $50 billion in sales by 2022, but due to the COVID pandemic last year, they had a $790 million loss. But yet they were still able to have $37.4 billion in sales due to the rise of e-commerce, and their market share is at 27.4%. Some of their strengths included strong brand awareness. Nike's strong marketing campaign it's one of a kind, yet it has a simple logo and has a catchy slogan, "Just do it." They all contribute to attracting many customers worldwide. Nike's other strength is rapid sustainability and innovation for its products. Time by time, Nike has emphasized their continuous effort to end environmental issues such as climate change and pollution in the community by providing environmentally sustainable products. Some of Nike's weaknesses are the constant labor controversies it has been involved in over labor conditions such as child labor in foreign countries, poor working conditions, low wages, etc. This negatively impacts the company's brand image, which can lead to a loss in market share. There is also little to no presence in these developing countries, which can also lead to a potential future loss in profit. So in terms of industry analysis, it comes under the sports apparel, footwear, and equipment industry. Last year in the United States alone, it had $167.7 billion in sales in sports apparel, but it is also expected to rise to $2048.1 billion by 2026. Their compound annual growth rate is expected to increase by 5.1% by 2026. There is also a trend of tie-dye apparel and customizable shoes that Nike can pick up on to attract more customers, but there are some barriers to entry, which include high manufacturing costs and the need of high financial and human capital to establish themselves in the market. Some opportunities that Nike can use is emerging markets in foreign countries to strengthen their brand presence and also improve their product mix with technology advancements by introducing wearable technology apparel. And some of their threats include constant pressure from competitors like Adidas and legal disputes over patents. Nike targets mainly athletes of all genders and race, but in the future, they're also targeting young athletes to secure brand loyalty, and they can also potentially target non-athletes to expand their target market. In terms of consumer behavior, they have the catchy slogan, "Just do it," which says that you can do whatever you want as long as you're comfortable. And they also have customer loyalty programs and discounts that attracts the customers to come back to Nike. And their largest market is in the United States alone, with 51% of the target of the market being there. And they also have sponsorship with athletes that attract many customers to come to Nike. Nike has three main channels of distribution, which include selling to wholesalers, direct to consumer sales, and selling it to retailers. Their first channel of distribution is from producer to wholesalers to retailers to consumer. Nike sells its products to its outlet stores, through which it goes to its retailers such as its own stores and their retail partners such as Foot Locker, through which it goes to the consumers. They also directly sell it to retail stores such as their own and other shoe stores. Lastly, they also have direct-to-consumer sales where they use their e-commerce website where the customers can directly shop without having to go to other stores. Due to the COVID-19 situation, the direct-to-consumer distribution channel has been their biggest distribution channel but the wholesaler channel is where most of their revenue still comes from. Nike's main competition is Adidas, as Adidas is the second largest sports apparel company after Nike. Their secondary competition comes from stores like Reebok, Under Armour, Puma, and potential competition in the future could be Lululemon and New Balance. Moving on to the Porter's five forces model. So starting off with competitive rivals, it is a strong force. Their constant rivalry with Adidas is a tough competition in the market, as consumers still like to go to Adidas, but Nike, with their strong marketing campaigns, has still been the #1 sports apparel company. Their bargaining power of suppliers is a weak force as there are many suppliers to choose from. The bargaining power of buyers is a strong force as there is a low switching cost when it comes to going to a substitute to buy their products. Their substitutes is a moderate force, though there aren't that many substitute companies to choose from because Nike does sell high quality products. And the chances of having new entrants in the industry is a weak force as mentioned before there's high economies of skills that they have to face and so many entry barriers.
In order for Nike to show the public their willingness to help with ongoing social issues whilst maintaining their reputation, they will need an action plan. A well-thought-out plan is pivotal to the success of Nike in showing their willingness to help. One of the methods that Nike can use to demonstrate their willingness would be to endorse an activist that is currently active in ongoing social movements. The second avenue for Nike to show their dedication to positive movements is to become a leader of a newly emerging social movement. Lastly, Nike may have to restructure production facilities that they currently operate to be more green or ethical in the eyes of the public. If Nike were to implement any of these methods, they will receive positive feedback from the public and will surely achieve their goal to show willingness. The first option that Nike may pursue to achieve the goal that they've set for themselves is to endorse an activist. Nike has done endorsements in the past with athletes that have attached themselves to movements before. The most successful application being Nike's Dream Crazy campaign, where Nike had stood by Colin Kaepernick against the NFL for punishing players kneeling during the anthem. In this alternative, Nike will endorse an activist whose entire motivation is based on the cause in question. There are two pros for adopting this method that come into mind immediately. The first pro is being that Nike can clearly communicate their stance on the social issue with the market. Standing by an activist will show that Nike aligns with their cause. The second pro of using this method is endorsing an activist will show the willingness that Nike has to tackle issues plaguing the public. With pros in this method, there are also cons. Two cons come into mind when implementing this strategy. The first con being that aligning with political movements always comes with the risk of tarnishing their reputation among consumers of opposite ideologies. The second con of this strategy is controversial. The second con of this strategy is that endorsing certain activists can be risky because of the history that the activist has, may be controversial to some groups, which can harm Nike's reputation. The second option that Nike can implement to show their willingness is becoming a leader in an upcoming movement socially. Becoming a leader will allow Nike to establish themselves as a symbol for the movement to the public. Becoming a symbol will go far beyond the goal that they had set for themselves. Building this type of reputation will be pivotal to the success of Nike in their efforts to show willingness. There are two pros that come with the choosing of this alternative. The first benefit is that this type of action will communicate boldness to the market, showing that Nike will not shy away from movements if they are too risky. The second pro coming from this alternative is that attaching to new movements will help avoid the public perception that Nike supports movements for profit. With the two pros of this alternative, there is also two cons. The first con being that the support of new and upcoming movements can be very risky because there's a risk of a fallout. We've seen multiple times over that some movements that start up are not grounded in fact, and then the movement ceases to exist. This can be very harmful to the reputation of Nike if they're attached to a movement that falls apart. The second con is that Nike looking for and supporting new movements could give the perception that they're looking for reasons to create outrage amongst the public. The last option that Nike has to achieve their goals is to restructure their current production facilities. This would require them to overhaul current operations to adopt more green methods or to improve the working quality for their workers in these facilities. This type of action could show that Nike has the intention to improve in places where they contribute to these issues. There are two pros that come to mind when adopting this type of strategy to achieve their goal. The first pro being that major changes like this one could be of high cost. Or no. The first pro being that a major change like this shows that they are willing to change where they contribute no matter the cost. The second pro resulting from this change is that Nike can begin repairing the image that the public has of them regarding their production due to past actions. Along with the pros, there are also an equal amount of cons. The first con from adopting this strategy would be the cost of the overhaul. A large-scale overhaul of operations like this will be very costly to Nike than any other alternative. The second con is that changes like these can go unnoticed and will require extra coverage. This coverage can send mixed signals to the market and come off as ingenuine.
The alternative solution that we have chosen is endorsing an activist. Nike should try to find real-world activists, people that are not celebrities or famous athletes, and who are trying to make a change. Nike should also try to find activists trying to fix problems such as racism, climate change, and educational development. An example of such activist is Jamie Margolin, who started at the age of 14 to bring awareness to climate change. She founded a youth-led climate group called 0 Hour, which seeks to accentuate the importance of the consequences of climate change. Nike should use caution when choosing the appropriate activists, as there could be negative aspects. For instance, when Nike endorsed Colin Kaepernick, they received a large amount of backlash, and it ended up hurting their reputation. A large following on social media vowed to never do business with Nike again. This created a loss in shares and decreased profits for Nike. They must find the right person or people whose beliefs both align with what is socially accepted as well as their own core values. By showing support to activists who have little personal gain, Nike can establish a reputation, showing they care about the greater good. When Nike endorses these activists, they should see a return on their investment. While Nike might not see an immediate financial return, it will gain a non-financial return. The objective of endorsing an activist is to prove that Nike cares more about than just its bottom line. In doing so, the goal is to achieve both customer retention and customer satisfaction. Nike has already demonstrated its initiative to make a change, as they committed $40 million to supporting the Black community in the US over 4 years. Also, Nike has shown support in the innovation of green production, as 75% of their shoes and apparel contain some recycled material. In addition, Nike Air manufacturing innovation facilities stop more than 95% of manufacturing waste from going to landfills, which is around 51 million pounds of materials. A drawback is many corporations receive scrutiny in some cases when taking a stand on current issues. There is often an assumption that corporations take advantage of using popular issues as a marketing ploy to increase their sales or shares. This is a potential reason Nike's prior attempts might not have been as successful as they had hoped. This is why endorsing an activist is an excellent next step for Nike, as well as a great opportunity.
In today's world, it seems almost impossible for large companies to survive without making statements aligning themselves with social and political movements. The digital world also makes it very difficult for business to fly under the radar when negative stories break out about them. Nike is no different from this. Nike needs to make changes within the company in order to maintain global dominance in the future. We have identified multiple options that Nike could take, which have their own pros and cons. Overall, aligning with more social activists will help people see Nike as a more aware brand and get more people invested in their products. This is our main suggestion to Nike, as we feel it would be the most beneficial to them. By realizing and focusing on their strengths and weaknesses identified in this report, Nike can continue to dominate the market like they have for decades past.